My name is Daisy. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a financial advisor in Boston. Growing up, my parents drilled one message into my head: family sticks together no matter what. I believed it with all my heart. That belief cost me exactly $60,000 when I saved my parents' house from foreclosure last year. A month after I emptied my savings account, I discovered they had changed their will to leave everything to my younger sister. Then my phone pinged with a text from Mom. Mortgage is due. If you've ever felt taken advantage of by family, hit the like button and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from and stick around to hear what I told my mother when she asked for even more money. I grew up in a modest neighborhood in suburban Massachusetts. My childhood home was a small 3-bedroom house with faded blue siding that my parents Richard and Linda purchased right after they got married. They worked hard but always seemed to be just one emergency away from financial disaster. Dad owned a small hardware store downtown that barely kept the lights on. He knew every customer by name and prided himself on personalized service, but he couldn't compete with the prices at Home Depot and Lowe's when they moved into our area. Mom worked part-time as a receptionist at a doctor's office, answering phones and filing paperwork. Between the two of them, they managed to keep food on the table and the mortgage paid, but there was never much left over. My sister Amanda came along when I was 5 years old. From the moment she arrived, the family dynamic shifted. Amanda became the baby who could do no wrong while I was expected to be the responsible one. When birthdays rolled around, Amanda got elaborate parties with bouncy houses and professional face painters. I got modest celebrations with homemade cake and a few friends over. Amanda needs these things because she's sensitive, my mother would explain when I questioned the difference in treatment. You're stronger, Daisy. You understand. When it came to clothes, Amanda always had new outfits from the mall. I wore hand-me-downs or clothes from discount stores. My parents justified this by telling me I was practical and didn't care about fashion anyway. The truth was, I learned not to ask for things because the answer was usually no. Despite the uneven treatment, I excelled in school. I studied hard, joined every academic club I could, and eventually earned a full scholarship to Boston University. The day I received my acceptance letter was one of the proudest moments of my life. Dad patted me on the back and said, "See, you never needed special treatment. You did it all on your own." I majored in finance because numbers made sense to me. They didn't play favorites or have hidden agendas. They were consistent and reliable, unlike family dynamics. The pattern of favoritism became impossible to ignore when my parents missed my college graduation ceremony to attend Amanda's high school dance recital. "She'll be so disappointed if we're not there," Mom explained over the phone. "You understand, right? You've always been the independent one." I did understand, but that didn't make it hurt any less. Still, I maintained close ties with my family. Every Sunday, I drove the 30 minutes to their house for dinner. I helped them with their taxes, explained insurance policies, and offered financial advice they rarely followed. I believed that's what family did for each other. Meanwhile, I built a successful career as a financial advisor. I worked with high-net-worth clients, helping them grow their wealth and plan for retirement. I lived in a small apartment, drove a sensible car, and saved aggressively. By 30, I had accumulated just over $60,000 in savings, which I earmarked for a down payment on my own home. Amanda took a different path. She dropped out of community college after one semester, declaring it too restricting for her creative spirit. She moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting, though she never seemed to go on auditions. Every few weeks, she would call our parents with stories about networking opportunities and big breaks that were just around the corner. These calls inevitably ended with requests for money. "Amanda is following her dreams," Dad would say proudly, even as he wrote another check he couldn't afford. "She's brave, not like most people who settle for ordinary lives." The implication that my life choices represented settling stung, but I kept my thoughts to myself. Family sticks together after all. The call that changed everything came on a Friday evening in April. I was unwinding after a long week, glass of wine in hand, when my phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. "Daisy, he said, his voice uncharacteristically shaky. "I need to talk to you about something important. Your mother and I are in a bit of trouble." My stomach tightened. "What kind of trouble, Dad?" "Financial trouble," he admitted after a long pause. "We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank says they'll start foreclosure proceedings in 2 weeks if we don't catch up. We need $15,000, and we just don't have it." I sat up straight, setting my wine glass down. 3 months. Why didn't you tell me sooner? "We didn't want to worry you," he said, though I suspected pride was the real reason. "We thought we could figure it out ourselves." In the background, I heard Mom crying softly. "I'll be there in 30 minutes, I said, already reaching for my keys. When I arrived, the house looked the same from the outside, but inside the atmosphere was heavy with desperation. Bills were scattered across the kitchen table. Past due notices, collection letters, final warnings. Dad looked older than his 60 years. His shoulders hunched with the weight of financial stress. Mom's eyes were red from crying. They sat me down at the kitchen table and finally revealed the full extent of their financial disaster. "The hardware store hasn't turned a profit in years," Dad confessed. "I've been using our retirement savings to keep it afloat, but there's nothing left now." "And we've been helping Amanda," Mom added. "She's had some unexpected expenses in LA. "How much have you sent her?" I asked. They exchanged glances. "About $2,000 over the past year," Dad finally admitted. I couldn't hide my shock. $25,000 for what? "Rent mostly," Mom said. "And acting classes, and headshots, and a car repair. She promised she'd pay us back once she gets her big break." I bit my tongue to keep from pointing out that Amanda's big break had been supposedly imminent for years. Instead, I asked to see all their financial documents. The picture that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. Beyond the $15,000 in mortgage arrears, they had $30,000 in credit card debt and $15,000 in medical bills, from when Mom had pneumonia last winter. Altogether, they needed $60,000 to get back to square one. After they went to bed, I called my friend Taylor, who worked in bankruptcy law. "Don't do it, Daisy," she warned after I explained the situation. "Never mix family and money. If you bail them out, they'll expect you to do it again." "But it's their house," I said. "They've lived there for 35 years. All their memories are there." "Then they should ask Amanda for help too," Taylor replied. "Why are you the only one expected to sacrifice?" I spent the entire weekend running numbers calculating how giving them $60,000 would affect my financial future. I'd have to start over saving for a house. I'd need to push back my own retirement contributions. But the alternative was watching my parents lose their home. By Sunday night, I had made my decision. Monday morning, I sat my parents down at their kitchen table. The same table where I'd done homework as a child. Where I'd opened my college acceptance letter. Where I now laid out 3 options for them. "You can file for bankruptcy," I began. "It would damage your credit, but it would stop the foreclosure and give you some relief from the debts." Mom shook her head immediately. "We couldn't do that. What would people think?" "Second option, you can sell the house," I continued. "Downsize to something more affordable." "This is our home," Dad protested. "Where would we go apartment living at our age?" I took a deep breath before presenting the third option. "Or I can help you. I have enough savings to cover everything, but it would have to be a one-time bailout. You'd need to follow a strict budget afterward." My parents exchanged glances. "We couldn't take your money," Dad said, though I could see relief washing over his face. "You've been saving for your own house." "Let me call Amanda," Mom suggested. "Maybe she can help too." The call went as I expected. Amanda answered on speakerphone, her voice echoing in the kitchen. "Of course I want to help," she exclaimed. "Things are about to turn around for me here. I just met a producer who's totally interested in casting me in his next project. Once that comes through, I'll send money right away." After the call, we all knew Amanda's help wasn't coming. Her promises were as substantial as smoke. "I'll help you," I said firmly. But I need you both to promise this is the last time. No more sending money to Amanda. No more ignoring bills until they become emergencies. And you need to follow the financial plan I create for you. They agreed tearfully, Dad calling me the responsible one, in a tone that finally sounded like a compliment, rather than a consolation prize. The next day, I visited my bank and withdrew $60,000 from my savings account. The teller raised her eyebrows, but said nothing. I felt physically ill watching my balance drop from $60, $842.17, to $842.20. Years of careful saving of brown bag lunches and delayed gratification gone in an instant. I met personally with each creditor. I negotiated with the mortgage company to stop the foreclosure. I worked out payment plans for the medical bills. I transferred the credit card balances to a lower interest option and paid them off. To prevent future mortgage issues, I set up automatic payments from my parents' account and created a detailed budget that accounted for every dollar of their income. I even built in a small emergency fund, though I made it clear that sending money to Amanda did not constitute an emergency. That evening, Mom prepared a special dinner to thank me. As we ate her lasagna, my childhood favorite, she mentioned something that caught my attention. "We're going to update our will as a thank you gesture," she said casually, "to show our appreciation." I didn't ask for details. I assumed they meant including some specific item of sentimental value for me, or perhaps splitting their modest assets more intentionally. The will wasn't my concern anyway. I hadn't helped them to get an inheritance. I'd helped because they were my family and they needed me. As I drove home that night, I felt a mixture of emotions. Pride that I could help when it mattered. Anxiety about rebuilding my own savings. And underneath it all, a nagging worry that I'd just enabled a pattern that would repeat itself in the future. But I pushed those thoughts aside. I'd done the right thing, I told myself. Family sticks together no matter what. Exactly 1 month after I'd given my parents the $60,000, I visited for our regular Sunday dinner. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something different. A new patio set sat on the front porch, complete with cushions and an umbrella. It definitely wasn't in the budget I'd created. Inside, more surprises awaited. The kitchen had new granite countertops, replacing the old laminate ones. A large flat-screen TV dominated the living room wall where an outdated model had been. "What's all this?" I asked, gesturing around. "These renovations weren't in the budget we discussed." Mom busied herself at the stove. "We needed to update a few things. The house was so outdated." "How did you pay for it?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Dad cleared his throat. "We took out a small loan against the house's equity. Now that the mortgage is current, the bank was happy to approve it." "A loan." I couldn't keep the disbelief from my voice. "You promised you wouldn't take on any new debt without discussing it with me first." "It's our house, Daisy," Mom said, her tone defensive. "We don't need permission to improve our own property. Besides, we deserve some comforts at our age." The argument escalated quickly. I pointed out their broken promises. They accused me of trying to control them, and round we went. In the heat of the moment, I walked into Dad's home office to collect myself and noticed a legal document on his desk. The heading caught my eye: Last Will and Testament of Richard and Linda Bradford. My name appeared only once in the document in a section titled Specific Bequests. I was to receive family photo albums and Linda's costume jewelry collection. The rest of the document detailed how the house, all financial accounts, and other possessions would go to Amanda. I carried the paper back to the kitchen, my hands trembling. Is this what Mom meant by updating your will as a thank you gesture? An uncomfortable silence fell. Dad took the document from my hands. "We meant to discuss this with you," he said finally. "We decided to leave the house and our assets to Amanda because she needs more help in life. You're already successful with a good career and solid financial habits. So I'm being punished for being responsible." My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "It's not a punishment," Mom insisted. "It's about making sure both our daughters are taken care of. You'll be fine no matter what." Amanda needs the security. I just gave you $60,000, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. I emptied my savings account to save this house, and now you're leaving it to Amanda. Try to understand, Dad said. We need to look at what's best for the family as a whole. Mom reached for my hand, which I pulled away. You wouldn't understand, Daisy. You don't have children. When you do, you'll realize sometimes you have to make hard choices about who needs more support. I left shortly after, tears blurring my vision as I drove. I called my best friend Lucy from the car using the hands-free system. They did what? Lucy exclaimed after I explained. After you gave them $60,000. That's beyond ungrateful, Daisy. It's a betrayal. That night I reviewed the financial planning documents I'd created for my parents. With growing horror, I realized they hadn't just taken out a small loan against their equity. They'd borrowed $30,000, half of what I'd just paid to save their house. I wondered how much of that money had already made its way to Amanda in Los Angeles. 3 weeks after discovering the will change, I was at work early preparing for a client meeting when my phone buzzed with a text. Mom's name appeared on the screen along with a message that made my stomach clench. Mortgage is due. Can you send $100? No explanation. No acknowledgement of everything I'd already done. Just an expectation that I would keep paying their bills indefinitely. My hands shook as I dialed her number instead of responding to the text. Daisy, thank goodness, Mom answered on the second ring. Did you get my message about the mortgage? I got it, I said, keeping my voice level. What happened to the automatic payment I set up? Well, she hesitated. We had to use that money for something else. An emergency. What kind of emergency? I asked, already dreading the answer. Amanda needed help again, Mom admitted. She had a consultation for a procedure that her insurance wouldn't cover. What procedure? I pressed. Another hesitation. A cosmetic procedure. She feels it will help her career in Los Angeles. Image is everything out there, you know. I closed my eyes. So you sent Amanda money for plastic surgery instead of paying your mortgage. After everything that's happened. It's not like that, Mom protested. She really needs this to boost her confidence. And anyway, it's just money to you, right? You make plenty at your job. This is our home we're talking about. I heard movement on the other end, then Dad's voice came on the line. Daisy, don't make this difficult, he said sternly. After all we did? Raising you, this is how you repay us, by interrogating us about how we spend our money. It's not about the money, I said quietly. It's about respect. It's about keeping promises. We'll discuss this later, Dad said dismissively. Just send the mortgage payment. We don't want to lose the house. I need to think about it, I replied before ending the call. I went through my workday in a fog, unable to focus on client portfolios or retirement projections. After work, I had a standing appointment with Dr. Harper, a therapist I'd started seeing after the will incident. They're asking for more money, I told her, slumping onto her office couch. After everything, they just expect me to keep paying. Dr. Harper listened as I recounted the morning's conversation, then asked, What do you think is really happening in your family's dynamic? Over the next hour, we identified patterns that had been present my entire life, but that I'd never fully acknowledged. My role as the responsible caretaker. Amanda's position as the perpetual child who needed protection. My parents' manipulation techniques of guilt obligation and emotional withdrawal when I didn't comply with their wishes. You have a choice, Dr. Harper said gently. You can continue in the role they've assigned you, or you can establish healthy boundaries. As I left her office, I knew what I needed to do. That evening, I drove to my parents' house unannounced. I brought with me a folder containing copies of all the payments I'd made on their behalf, the budget plan I'd created, and bank statements showing the $30,000 home equity loan they'd taken out. Mom answered the door in her bathrobe, surprise registering on her face. Daisy. We weren't expecting you. Did you bring the mortgage money? I brought something more important, I replied, walking past her into the kitchen where Dad sat reading the newspaper. We need to talk. I laid out the documents on the kitchen table and sat down. I'm not sending money for the mortgage. I began keeping my voice calm and controlled. Not this month, not next month, not ever again. Dad put down his paper. Now listen here, young lady. No, you listen, I interrupted, surprising myself with my firmness. I've already given you $60,000 to save this house. I emptied my savings account. I delayed my own financial goals. And I did it because I love you and I wanted to help. I pointed to the home equity loan documentation. A month later, you took out a $30,000 loan against the equity in this house. You bought new furniture, renovated the kitchen, and sent money to Amanda. You broke every promise you made to me. We're your parents, Mom said, tears forming in her eyes. You're supposed to help family. Family goes both ways, I replied. Family doesn't take advantage of each other. Family respects boundaries and keeps promises. Dad's face reddened. So you're just going to let the bank take our house after all we've done for you? Who do you think paid for your food and clothes when you were growing up? I refused to be derailed by guilt. You chose to have children, and yes, you provided the basics. I'm grateful for that. But it doesn't entitle you to my entire financial future. Mom began crying more forcefully. What will people think if we lose our house? Everyone will know we failed. Dad took a different approach. If you don't help us, we'll have to tell the whole family how you abandoned us when we needed you most. As if on cue, the phone rang. Mom answered it, and I heard Amanda's voice on the other end. Put it on speaker, I said. Mom complied, likely thinking Amanda would take their side. Hey, what's up? Amanda's voice filled the kitchen. Amanda, it's Daisy. Did you know I gave Mom and Dad $60,000 last month to save the house from foreclosure? Silence on the other end. Then, $60,000. Are you serious? Completely serious? I confirmed. I emptied my savings account to pay off their mortgage arrears, credit card debt, and medical bills. I had no idea, Amanda said, sounding genuinely shocked. Mom, Dad, you told me a distant cousin helped you out with a small loan. My parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I can pay back some of the money they sent me, Amanda offered unexpectedly. I just got a recurring role on a TV show. It's not much, but it's steady work. Keep your money, I told her. That's not why I called. I just wanted everyone to hear the truth. Mom and Dad need to start following the budget I created, or they'll lose the house regardless of who helps them. I turned back to my parents. I won't be sending money for the mortgage. I won't be your financial safety net anymore. I love you both, but I won't enable financial irresponsibility. Dad stood up, his face flushed with anger. You're being heartless and ungrateful. After everything we've sacrificed for you. I stood as well, gathering my documents. I just paid $60,000 for a house you're giving to someone else. Tell me again who's being ungrateful. I left before they could respond, the weight of years of emotional manipulation finally lifting from my shoulders. As I drove away, I sent a text to my mother. I love you, but I won't enable financial irresponsibility anymore. 6 months have passed since that confrontation at my parents' kitchen table. I've moved into a new apartment closer to my office and have slowly begun rebuilding my savings. It hasn't been easy emotionally or financially, but for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm putting myself first. After I left that night, my parents sent a barrage of messages ranging from angry accusations to pitiful pleas. I responded minimally, maintaining the boundaries I'd established. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but also the most necessary. Surprisingly, Amanda became an unexpected ally in the situation. After our phone call, she moved back from Los Angeles to our hometown. She got a job as an administrative assistant at a local theater company and has been helping our parents follow their budget. The recurring TV role she mentioned turned out to be a small part on a crime procedural, but it supplemented her income enough to make a difference. My parents are still struggling financially. The house remains at risk, but not because I'm refusing to help. It's because they spent decades establishing unsustainable financial habits that can't be fixed with a one-time bailout. They're following this budget now, not because they've had a change of heart, but because they have no other choice. My journey of healing began with therapy. Dr. Harper helped me recognize the childhood patterns that led me to become the family financial savior. I learned that my worth isn't tied to how much money I give or how many problems I solve. I found a supportive community through a financial trauma support group where I met others who had similar experiences with family financial manipulation. I've come to understand that love and money are two separate things. My parents do love me in their way, but they've never learned healthy financial boundaries. Their generation was taught not to discuss money openly, which led to financial illiteracy and shame around monetary struggles. Gradually, we've begun rebuilding our relationship on healthier terms. My parents sent a birthday card last month with no requests for money inside, just warm wishes. We had dinner together last week with clear expectations set beforehand that financial discussions were off the table. Amanda and I have developed a more honest relationship too. Without our parents' triangulation, we've discovered we actually have things in common. She's acknowledged the favoritism that existed in our childhood home and has apologized for her role in perpetuating it as an adult. My parents are working with a nonprofit financial counselor I recommended. They haven't changed the will yet, but Amanda has promised that if she inherits the house, she'll sell it and split the proceeds with me. I believe her, though I've learned not to stake my financial future on promises. The most surprising outcome of this painful journey has been the freedom I've found in breaking unhealthy patterns. By saying no to continued financial exploitation, I've said yes to my own well-being. I've learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family is to stop enabling harmful behavior. True family support isn't measured by money given, but by respecting each other's boundaries and well-being. We can love people deeply while still protecting ourselves from harm. That's the lesson I carry forward as I rebuild my savings and my sense of self. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who took advantage of your generosity? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more stories about finding balance in difficult family situations. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to protect yourself financially, even from those you love. Thank you for listening, and remember, your worth isn't measured by how much you give, but by how authentically you live.